and chemistry in investigating DNA has come too near to the aperiodic crystal, which, in my opinion, is the material carrier of life. The working of an organism requires exact physical laws. If it were not so, if we were organisms so sensitive that a single atom or even a few atoms could make a perceptible impression on our senses, heavens, what would life be like? And to tell precisely why present-day physics and chemistry could not possibly account for what happens in space and time within a living organism, the arrangement of the atoms in the most vital parts of an organism and the interplay of these arrangements differ in a fundamental way from all those arrangements of atoms which physicists and chemists have hitherto made the object of their experimental and theoretical research. Yet, the difference which I have just termed fundamental is of such a kind that it might easily appear slight to anyone except a physicist who is thoroughly imbued with the knowledge that the laws of physics and chemistry are set statistically throughout. For it is in relation to the statistical point of view that the structure of the vital parts of living organisms differs so entirely from that of any piece of matter that we, physicists and chemists, have ever handled physically in our laboratories or mentally at our writing desks.
Egy édes álmos, ráncos medvebocs, csak bír meg dörmög, mert a kedve rossz. Üres az éléskamra, és a gyomra egyre csak korog-korog. We were all around Budapest, and there was one road out of it when we came out. Before about mid-December, very near to the 6th, because I know it was mixed up with Mikulás, who comes on the 6th of December, and he forgot to come, and we were all upset. And then Mom said, "Oh, you go back to bed, and he's probably held up, probably air-raised, what have you." And they quickly made up Mikulás things for us on the table, and that sort of started to not quite click. And and shortly after that we packed everything and we had to go, but Dad couldn't come with us because he was working for the water supply. He was in charge of some big thing and he had to stay on. And then he managed to get a week off for Christmas because he was the only married one. So he came out, and on Christmas Eve, on the morning of Christmas Eve, and on Christmas Eve the circle closed.
How does the idea of plurality, so empathetically opposed by the Upanishad writers, arise at all? Consciousness finds itself intimately connected with and dependent on the physical state of a limited reign of matter, the body. Think of your DNA and a periodic crystal carrying all the informations, your past and the core, into the future. We are a standing wave of all potential knowledge. I am in the song. Let's go to the chorus.
Egy édes álmos, ráncos medvebocs, csak bír meg dörmög, mert a kedve rossz. Üres az éléskamra, és a gyomra egyre csak korog-korog. Pest, the flat side, in Zuglo. We lived there for many years, a beautiful backyard with 2 big cherry trees and sour cherry trees, and I used to climb the trees. And then we left Hungary and lived in a little country town called Tét, very small. It was a village type of a setup. And then we were going to stay there until the Russians were kicked, but the Russians weren't kicked. So we just pushed further and further on, and eventually we ended up in St. Gotthard. We probably stayed there for 3 months, and from there we had to go out to Austria because the Russians were coming. They were always about 15 kilometers behind us. We had an ox cart packed with all our things on top, and we were walking behind the ox carts, and Dad led the ox. He never met an ox in his life before, but the ox was very friendly, and he had this long leather coat, very expensive leather coat. Didn't look like an ox driver at all. Now, that took about 3 days, and 2 nights and 3 days, when we eventually got to a railway station. They said that the next railway station we can get on a train, and that was in the middle of the night when we eventually got there, and there was grandmother hanging on to, we were 3 girls, hanging on to the oldest girl, and I was hanging on to her, and my youngest one was hanging on to me, and we somehow never lost each other. And we got on the train, and all of a sudden the whole place lit up, and there were these, they called them Stalingyertya, Stalin's candles, lighting up the station ready to be bombed, and the thing pulled out, big jerk, and rushed out, and the station behind us was totally demolished.
Военные моряки контр-адмирала Холостякова проявили здесь умение и выдержку в трудных условиях начавшегося ледохода. В решающие дни боев за Буду южнее города саперами был построен мост, обеспечивший переброску войск и техники с левого на правый берег.
It was sort of a little teddy bear who was whinging because he was hungry, and the mom said to him that just go back to sleep because the war will soon be over, and then everything will be... Fürödhetsz tejbe, vajba, tiszta málna rébe. You can have a bath in milk and butter, that tejbe, vajba, fürdés. That was something extra special Hungarian saying. And málnali is, what is that berry juice? But anyway, it's that I love that song, and that was on the radio just about every day. And I loved it. And when I really felt like crying, I was thinking of that, and I was singing it in my mind, and it calmed me down.
become aware that their thought and their joy are numerically one. Consciousness is never experienced in plural, only in the singular. Even in the pathological cases of split consciousness or double personalities, the two persons alternate. They are never manifested simultaneously. In a dream, we do perform several characters at the same time, but not indiscriminately. We are one of them. In him, we act and speak directly, while we often eagerly await answer or response of another person, unaware of the fact that it is we who control his movements and his speech just as much as our own. How does the idea of plurality, so empathetically opposed by the Upanishad writers, arise at all? Consciousness finds itself intimately connected with and dependent on the physical state of a limited reign of matter, the body. We are a standing wave of all potential knowledge, omnipresent, all-comprehending eternal self was in Indian thought considered, far from being blasphemous, to represent the quintessence of deepest insight into the happenings of the world. The striving of all the scholars of Vedanta was, after having learned to pronounce with their lips, really to assimilate in their minds this grandest of all thoughts. Again, the mystics of many centuries, independently, yet in perfect harmony with each other, somewhat like the particles in an ideal gas, have described, each of them, the unique experience of his or her life in terms that can be considered in the phrase Deus factus sum, I have become God.
Maybe the depth that makes my calling spirit black and wide and solitary to fathom. Swim out deep and sing us home. Above us, the spirit that you try, the depth fathom that lies above us, the spirit that you try to fathom.